Yes, Rabbi Kaplan.
Now, my feeling when I read these books, I got this feeling that very, very strongly hit me when I read the book on Reb Shlomo Freifeld that was written by somebody, Yisrael Besser, I think, wrote it. And after reading around half of the book, I got the feeling, wow, this is a person that produced hundreds of stories. Every few days he produced a story. And then there were so many stories, it became a book. But I want to know the deeper level of the person when I'm reading about the person. That's not enough for me.
Rabbi Kaplan, can I ask you, did you read the biography of Rav Moshe Scherer? And perhaps you could say a few words on it.
Yeah, I think I could. But I have to admit, I didn't read it in depth. I mean, I skimmed over it. But yeah, it could be that it's better in that sense. Well, there is a...
Or Rav Aaron Cutler, the 2-volume biography from Sorsky.
Rabban Cutler.
It's a book of inspiration. I don't know what you...
I did, yeah.
You're comparing Yisrael Besser to Rav Aaron Cutler.
From Rabban, but not too much. No, not too much. But it was a good book. I enjoyed reading it. I enjoyed it more than the book on Rav Shlomo Freifeld.
And by the way, I brought it to you, the book on Rav Aaron Cutler.
Yeah, I thank you for that. But I want to tell you what the best book, in my opinion, that was written in the last 200 years on Adam Gadol is the Sefer Toldos Menachem on Rab Nachum Keharodna. I have the Sefer. They rewrote it for children in a more simplified it. But I have the original book, which was written by a good writer. And in that book, he tells about the ups and downs, the milchumas, the trials that he had in his early years. His father worked in a Beis Meleches Lemisrafos Hayash, in a whiskey factory. And he worked over there. He was a halacha yid, but he was very, very poor. And he didn't have money to send his child to cheder, or he didn't have money to pay a melamed. They didn't even have a cheder in that little city there. And the child used to sit next to his father in the factory, in the whiskey factory. And the father said, and the mother said, what's going to be with our son? What's going to be with him? And the father said, I'm not smart enough to know how to teach him Torah. I guess he was a Pashut Yid. But they saw that the child was a smart child and something could come out of it. So this his name was Uziel, the father of Rab Nachum. So he said, look, I know that Tehillim Baal Peh, so I'll teach him Tehillim. We'll say Tehillim together. And we'll say, and I'll teach him how to daven. And the father and the son used to say Tehillim together. And sometimes they would sit in the whiskey factory and say Tehillim. And then he went by years, and then he finally did find somebody to learn with. And then he had ups and downs, and he tried to learn by himself, and then there were other boys in the shul that laughed at him, and there were times that he gave up. It's very, very good, this book. It's also well written. It's not written like nowadays. And there were times he gave up, and then he came back, and then there was a time that he joined a choir that used to travel from city to city with a chazan. And in those days, there was, maybe nowadays also, there was chazanim weren't such halacha yidin. And maybe there were even balei averos between them. And and he saw it, and he understood this is not a place for me. And he had all these ups and downs until finally something happened, and he took himself, and he started growing and growing. I mean, I didn't read it right now, but I think it's a very important book to read. And Dafki in the original, not in the copies that they made. And it's very inspiring what a person can grow, how a person can grow from such a weak situation and such a hard situation, and a person could build himself. And he was a Kedosh Alien. I mean, it's Yodua that the Chavetz Chaim went to see him when the Chavetz Chaim was a teenager. He saw it. Everybody knows that he saw him in the middle of the night, that he came into the shul, and a fire min hashamayim came down around Mamash Kedosh Alien. Most of his time, I don't know most of his time, but he was a famous guy by Tzedakah, and he went around raising money for the poor and giving out. He was Mamash Tzaddik Yisod Olam, and he came from a hard life he had in his younger years. That's inspiring. But other books, if they would tell, like, what pushed Rabbi Cutler to be, it's impossible. I think it's almost impossible to write such a thing. But that would be inspiring to me. But just to know a lot of stories, a lot of facts, I don't feel it does anything to me. I feel sometimes it gets me down. It makes me feel, Rabbi Yassif produced so many stories. What did I produce? Nothing. So what am I? The reading Rabbi Yassif's biography, so the maskana, the final, to sum it all up, would be, okay, this book means that I'm nothing.
Rabbi Kaplan, let me say a few words. I spent some time looking at this book, Misos Kol Haaretz, I believe it's called, Rabbi Yashu. One, I must say, it gives you the Tekufa, what it was in Lita when he was born, the life in Yerushalayim. It's a book of, you learn history also, where everything fits into the grand stream. It's not just a book of stories like the Rav Freifeld book. It's a very important, and also the Rav Ivor Cutler book. You learn about the war, not the war from a history book, but the war, and the Holocaust, where he was. Some books bring you the whole Tekufa, and I think you're overlooking this very point. And the book I'm reading now by Professor Mordechai Shapiro, Mark Shapiro, on the biography of Yechiel Yaakov Weinberg. It's tremendous. You get a Tekufa. What was going on there? And I think you're overlooking this. It's right.
I am overlooking that. You're talking from a different angle, and if you look at it from that angle, then you're right. I'm looking for inspiration. I'm talking about inspiration. When you look for history and you look for knowing the background, and which is important, I agree with you, it's important. So for that, they are good for that. But I just want to explain, to show a certain angle that you could look at it from. And I just want to explain what I felt that particular day when Yeshua Meir wanted to buy those books. I just want to explain to the Olam what I felt that day. Now, you could ask, who cares what you felt that day? No, I think it's important. And I think the listeners are going to hear what I felt that day. Some of them are going to identify with me and some of them won't, and it'll arouse a lively debate, I think. Just like just now, in fact. But we're not really having a debate because I'm really agreeing with you. But I'm talking about this angle and this union of what got him going, or to understand the inner world of this person. That's what I'm interested in, and that's what's more inspiring to me, and that's what's almost impossible to write. And that's why when you read it, I get this feeling of another story, another story, another story. It's like kamut. It's, how do you say it? Quantity instead of quality. That's the feeling that I get. And I thought of something interesting.